Advocate and Early Bird In-Depth. Today's program is not much of a debate because you guys pretty much are on the same page on a lot of things. Basically, this is a chance to get to know both of you a little bit better so people can see where you stand on the issues, see who they want to lead Greenville in the future. Right now, it's not a contested. After the Republican primary, there's nobody that has jumped into the ring, so this is kind of really deciding, unless we get a write-in candidate later or an independent decides to jump in. Right now, going into the November, it would be uncontested depending on who wins the Republican primary. No, Democrats have filed, so you won't have a Democrat, but you could have an independent or you could have a write-in candidate. Absentee voting begins on April 4th.
That's correct.
The last day to register to vote is April 3rd, so you still have time if you're not a registered voter to be registered, but only Republicans will get a chance to vote on you guys. So you have to register as a Republican in order to vote in the Republican primary, and again, this is the only contested case. Absentee voting, we said, begins April 4th, and to vote at your precinct, that is May 2nd. So still got some time. You guys have some time to campaign and just a little bit. Actually, starting to see a lot more people vote absentee. So really the deadline is coming up quick for you guys to really get the word out and see what you guys want to do. So first of all, let me introduce them. This is Jeff Whitaker. This is John Baumgardner, both running for on the Republican ticket for mayor of Greenville. It's the only contested one in the city and county, to be honest.
Right.
And I think there's only one other issue, two issues on the ballot in the county. So not a whole lot to vote on, but this one's an important one. This one's could shape the future of Greenville. So just quickly, we'll start with Jeff. Jeff, tell us about yourself, who you are, where you come from.
Okay. It's been going on 10 years now since my wife Robin and I moved here to Greenville from Melbourne, Florida area. Purpose of being closer to Robin's family. They were all getting up there in age. Mm-hmm. She's had many aunts and uncles in the area as well, and friends that she's had from high school when she graduated in Northmont in 1974, same year that I graduated back in Illinois. But many of them were moving up into their upper years, so we wanted to come here. And as I mentioned, Robin's got strong roots in the area. Mm-hmm. I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to work here as an inventory analyst for nearly 8 years at Whirlpool. Was able to retire June 30th. So I've been weighing in heavily for city council matters, going to a lot of meetings and events that I've been having the opportunity to go to and taking a lot of pleasure in attending. We've got a lot of good friends through work, through church, around our neighborhoods and so forth. And we've come to love and appreciate what Greenville's got to offer, and we've made this our home.
Okay. John, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Youngest of four, born and raised in Greenville. I've all three of my sisters. I'm the youngest of four, so that's why I probably got picked on a lot when I was little. But my father and mother, both from Greenville. I grew up poor, didn't know it. Worked hard my whole life. Always worked in the Greenville area. The last 37 years worked for a large uniform company. From being on the route 18 years, which my route was all in Greenville. So I know about every, I would have to say I've been in probably 99% of the businesses, whether delivering to them or know them over my years. I proceeded after my 18 years on the route, went into management as a district manager, which I was over this area, became a regional trainer where I trained and developed new managers, and then I went into general manager role. I tried to retire 2 years ago, but they talked me into staying as a national account manager. So I now manage about 40 accounts, large accounts, all based out of Florida, Georgia, but I work from home, manage those accounts. We also own a few small businesses. We're part owners of the Dairy King, Greenville Car Wash, and then we also own Troy Sunshade, co-partners on that. That's an interesting story. We had we had heard that they were closing up, so I was interested in buying the building. I ended up buying the business and saved 17, 18 jobs, and now we turned the business around and we have 30 plus employees. Some of the stuff that I'm involved in, I'm current city council president for this my second year. Before that, I was Ward 4. I was at large one time. Park board for many years. When I was on the park board, we got some great projects done, like the band shell. We raised all the money and did that. The latest thing when I was on the park board is we got the splash pad in South Park, which was a great project because it cost the city basically very little money because it was grant, and thanks to Wayne Hospital, right, they chipped in the bulk of that. But on the board of the Greenville Boys and Girls Club, which is a great organization. I've been on the Union Cemetery board for several times. Past president, athletic boosters for Greenville schools. I'm a member of the Greenville Masonic Lodge and a past master of that. Past president, Dark County Shrine Club, member of the Elks Moose, and a booster member of the American Legion. We've always been a big supporter of Greenville schools and FFA and 4-H. So my projects, and also I have several buildings downtown and several commercial properties. I'm really big on downtown. I like seeing the upper floors redone. We've got a couple projects right now going on, actually right next door. But I just love the city, and I want to take it to the next level. I think you made the comment. I think I can't remember a time where Jeff and I had different opinions on a vote on council. I mean, we're both very conservative Republicans. We both want to see the city proceed ahead. Mm-hmm. I just feel with me being local and all those contacts that I know, and being here my whole life and knowing what the city looked like in the 70s and 80s and 90s, because we need to go back to some of those pride and etc. So that's why I want to be your next mayor.
Okay. And if I might add just a little bit here,
sure,
because I kind of left a lot of things out myself. Mm-hmm. But several years ago, I was encouraged by Mayor Willman and Roxanne, our city auditor, as well as many others in the community, to run for city council. And I did that. I campaigned hard, showing my desire to serve the city. And as a matter of fact, I was the top vote getter in the election when I got elected first in 2017. Then I got reelected in 21. Since I've had the opportunity to represent you and work efficiently with everyone on city council and within city government, been very active in participating in community events, which I think is key, as well as having a very strong record of attendance of the various committees and boards in which I've served over the years. And all of these things, I believe, are what people are wanting to expect from their next mayor, that activity within the community and being visible, and I've certainly been that. I'm also participating now in Dark County 250, which is an offshoot of America 250, our 250th anniversary of the birth of our country. And this is going to be an ongoing effort for the next couple of years, right, signing up events and so forth. So I believe that everyone has seen my visibility in the community and shared my love for the city of Greenville, and I want to continue doing that as mayor.
Speaking of I think at the Republican women, you said you guys agree on 95% of the thing. So why not just flip a coin when you go into the ballot to see who it is? John, we'll start with you. What do you bring that separates you two from each other?
Well, I just think with me being local my whole life, knowing so many businesses and knowing so many shaker and movers to how to get things done, and if anyone knows me, I'm all in. If I commit to something, it's going to be done and done right. This is something that when I came back on council, when I took Ward 4, when I was appointed, when I met with the Republican Party, I told them that, look, I don't want just back on council. I'm going to get back on council. I'm going to be your next council president. I'm going to run against the current Democrat that was in there. I ran against that, and then I also explained to them my ultimate goal was when Steve Willman retired, that I would run for that. So it's been a 6-year thought process, and it's walking away from that big corporate Fortune 200 company, and kind of we're at a spot in our lives where I can step back and walk away from that big money job and take something and leave a legacy. That when you walk into the city building, you see all the pictures of the mayors, and I want 50 years from now to walk in that building and someone say that's one of our best mayors we ever had.
Jeff?
I look forward to that same opportunity. And rather than having the discussion about who's lived here the longest, I just want to say that, I've been very visible in the community, been taking part in ribbon cutting ceremonies through Main Street, Greenville, been active with events held by the Dark County Chamber, political events, which is, to me, is a strong advantage because I have created many friendships and contacts and know who to talk to regarding getting things done for the city of Greenville. I've got many of those contacts will be very helpful, for example, in talking about getting grant monies and so forth and where to go for those. And I think that my commitment to the community and playing an active role is very important. And I think, again, I'll say that it's something I believe most people will expect out of being the mayor. Right. We've got a great safety service director in Ryan Delk. All the people that work for the city of Greenville are committed, and we've got a great city building full of people who are working hard to take care and service the people of Greenville.
This isn't on my list of questions, but from both of you, because Ryan Delk is I think a lot of people think is a tremendous asset from where we've been to where we are now. Do either of you plan on changing that position at all?
We'd be crazy.
Yeah, and look, I said the other day, and I don't know, but I've said this a few times. It's the good thing is whether Jeff wins or I win, both of us will still be on the city council. The thing that we'll have to make sure is whoever wins, we're going to have to replace that role. So we just need to find a really good candidate to replace that council role.
Okay. Ryan's one of those guys, if you ask him to do something, he probably did it yesterday. Yep. And that's a compliment to Ryan. He's on it, and he knows what's going on within the city. He's been serving the city of Greenville most of his adult life, and he's a tremendous asset, and I'm just glad to see him here and glad to be friends with him.
Right.
Yeah, so, and I'll add some more to that. So if you look at Ryan's that type that you could have that very upset citizen come in, just mad as a hornet. Ryan will listen to him, and he'll listen to him and listen to him. He'll come back, and that resident might leave and not get anything accomplished, but they feel good about coming up there. He is so good about diffusing problems. But not only Ryan, you have the street department, you have all of our departments, and we've made a couple changes over the last year, but I feel very confident in all of our departments. And not only that, you have an amazing law director, and then Kim coming in, taking as auditor. I think it's just going to be a really good team to move this city forward.
I agree.
And my question, I guess, is on both of you now. You have Vote Local on your signs. You have said you're not a carpetbagger. Kind of explain that from each of your perspectives. I heard it at the Republican Women's.
Yeah.
But for you, voting local is important. Why?
So, all four of my kids have gone to Greenville. 3 of them graduated. One of them lives here. One of them lives in the Middletown area. My youngest son is at Ohio State pre-med. My youngest daughter is an 8th grader. I think having a family that's been raised here and having so many friends, my wife and I have. My wife's a teacher down at Tri-Village. I think it's really important to be the local. Look, I'm not downgrading Jeff's ability. I think he's a great competitor in this. Mm-hmm. But I just think that gives me the advantage And that's why I put that on the signs, is I'm your local guy, born and raised here my whole life. And not only born and raised here my whole life, I've worked in this area my whole life. I've owned small businesses. I've been very supportive of the schools and some of the other local stuff. I'm a big supporter of our downtown. I think there's three things that make a good community: schools, parks, and downtowns. I think, and we really don't have anything to do with the school, but we, as a mayor, I want to make sure the school knows that we want to support them and partner with them in any projects.
Right.
But we have a really good school system. From 10 years ago, we now have a new K-8 building, and our open enrollment has really shrunk. Our parks, with all the lighting we have now on the walk paths, the band shell, we're building a restroom in Yolo Park. We've got a lot of good things going on there. So, I would give our schools an A. I would give our parks an A. Our downtown just needs a little bit of help. It's probably a B plus or A minus. I'd just love to see more upper floors developed. But I've always been a supporter of that, not just going back. I've owned buildings downtown for 25, or probably going on 30 years.
Right.
So,
Jeff, so what do you bring?
Well, what I bring is being from the St. Louis area originally, and then living in Carson City, Nevada for a couple of years, and then Florida for 15 years, being very active in all those communities. I've seen a lot of different things other than Greenville, and I've got a lot of ideas about particularly things that might benefit the downtown as opposed to the downtown areas of other areas where I've lived. And, my wife, again, has significant roots in this area. Lots of friends who have now become my friends as well. They know my capabilities. My background is in the St. Clair County Treasurer's Office, handling the investment program of over $120 million for 16 and a half years. We earned a lot of interest back in those days, enough interest to actually able to abate some general fund income real estate tax. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the great things I believe that I've got in my background. That administrative experience may not be from here, but I've been around and I've
Right.
seen a lot of different things. Worked in marketing and advertising, and that's of great benefit, I believe, in my aiding and being on the board of Main Street Greenville, which I've been on ever since I took my council seat. Main Street Greenville is progressing nicely. We've got a very active board. I'm glad to be part of it, and I know that all the people working on that board are dedicated as much as I am to seeing downtown thrive. John has brought a lot to downtown with the improvement of the buildings that he owns. There's no doubt about that, and I know that his vision for the buildings at downtown, the appearance and so forth, bringing extra, the value of those buildings up, we're bringing more real estate tax money, and thus creating more jobs. The downtown is getting more and more new businesses, creating jobs, more people paying city income tax. That allows us to provide more services to the community. So, that's what I bring. I bring a lot of experience, a lot of varied experience, and I think that I've demonstrated that with my activity while I've been on council, and very active at that.
Okay. This is for both of you. Jeff, we'll start with you. Perceived or real, Greenville has a reputation where it is hard to do business. We could point to requirements for a number of parking spaces, where road cuts are allowed, not allowed. Building requirements that go above and beyond what the county requires is what you hear sometimes. Zoning issues, such as what we are currently seeing out on 121. First, do you think it's hard to do? Actually, the other thing I had here was sometimes I've heard this from some people that when you have a question about it, they just say, well, just go to planning and zoning and get a waiver. First, do you think it's hard to do business in Greenville? And secondly, how do you as mayor break that reputation Greenville has?
Well, first of all, I think Dennis Aislinger, our planning and zoning director, has been doing a good job in trying to streamline the process of doing business here in town. I don't know what it's been in the past, but all I've seen is the attitude of our city council is that we want to bring as much business to Greenville as possible. That may not be true in the past. I don't know. I wasn't here. But all I know is my attitude toward it is I want to bring as much business to Greenville and make it as easy as possible for them to do business in Greenville and provide an atmosphere for them to feel welcome. And that is very, very important to do that. Again, I think we've got a comprehensive plan that we're working on, and that's pretty much a long-range planning document which outlines the city's visions and goals and objectives and policies. And part of that is to engage the community and to make it easier to do business in Greenville by streamlining those requirements to start a business here in Greenville. Also, Main Street Greenville, again, is making a concerted effort on making it easier to someone to get started, where to go, get advice. We're trying to become part of that link. So I think, it's getting better.
John, you're a businessman. Where do you stand on that?
So this is probably one of the biggest reasons I'm running for mayor is economic development. It is so hard to do business in Greenville, Darke County. I'll share two stories with you. My sister and brother-in-law, my youngest sister, she's cooked and baked cookies and wedding cakes about her whole life. She has a home kitchen. She has two kitchens in her house, kind of weird. They decided 8 years ago they want to open a bakery in downtown Greenville. So they bought a building. They redid the second floor as an apartment, which was an apartment. They started on the downstairs to start the renovations of the bakery. And 3 months later, they said, this is too much work. And they sold the building. Mm-hmm. My sister still does, cooking at home, but if we'd have got that business there and it was easier to do business, from the health department to the permitting and getting plans drawn up, all of that stuff, which I'm not saying we should not do that, but to a young, or I guess my sister's not young, Susie, don't be mad at me, but for someone in their 40s at the time to have to invest, and it just spooked them, and they're like, I'm out, okay? Another story, we had a school teacher, wanted to buy the bowling alley, okay? They had everything all set up to go. They reached out to the health department and some other departments on what, if it changes hands, what needs done. And it was overwhelming, and he walked away. Now we have a bowling alley out of business, and we have no place to bowl. So yeah, it is extremely hard. Entrepreneurship is, if it's not dead, it's very dying. Some of the hoops that we've had to jump through on multiple properties that I've done is just crazy. We're right now I'm in the process of moving 4 meters from the inside of a downtown building to the outside of a downtown building, which is safer and is a great thing. Just the permit, okay, $500. That guy that will come and do the inspections will probably not spend an hour at the most walking around and looking at everything we've done to give it an okay. And that individual works in Miami County. So we pay someone in Miami County to come in Darke County and do inspections.
It's crazy.
We have got to fix that. It shouldn't be $500. I don't mind paying $100 or $150 for an inspection. $500 is ridiculous. We've got to make it easier to do business. And I know Jeff's on the same wavelength with me. I just got some experience on doing it, and it's so aggravating. So if people listening to this sees that my face might be a little bit redder, I might be talking a little bit louder, because it really ticks me off.
I can understand that.
We have to make it easier, because half of the jobs in Darke County, Greenville, are small businesses. I talked to an individual the other day, wants to build a new building and add on to another building to a very well business, but he doesn't want to have to go through the headache because he built a building 10 years ago and it was nothing but headaches dealing with the planning and zoning and all that stuff. So yes, we just need somehow to streamline it. What I'd like to do is form a committee of small business people, maybe in large and small, and list out the obstacles, take those obstacles, go back to the county and health department, and how can we make this easier for the average person that wants to start a business? Because I look at my sister and brother-in-law, and this was before Beans Bakery was around, and I'm thinking, wow, my sister and brother-in-law could have had a really good, because they do really good now out in Whittington, Ohio, but that could have been a Greenville business employing several folks.
Right.
So that's my take on economic development. We just got to work together with the county and the health department, and also what I talked to April Brubaker yesterday, and one thing I thought would be great if we could get some maybe retired business people or successful business people to be like a mentor to these small, someone new coming in and doesn't know how to understand a P&L, or doesn't know, what needs to be done, et cetera. Just someone to lean to, maybe a mentor program or something like that.
Right. Moving on a little bit, Jeff, some of your comments could lead someone to believe you are anti-senior citizen just from council meetings, Republican, women's. You discussed the tax base and the need for more taxpayers moving into the city, which obviously that's needed. But you also said if that doesn't happen, we're just catering to low-income senior housing. First, don't we need to cater to all groups? Because if you're putting one over the other, it kind of makes you sound like a little bit of an elitist. And secondly, you stated we want their income tax and real estate tax and everything. Where do retired seniors with a small retirement or living off Social Security fit into your Greenville?
First of all, I'll say I'm a senior citizen myself, 67 years old, so naturally I don't dislike senior citizens. My thing is this: I think that we've got to make the most of the land that we have in this area. We have to and prepare for the future of this area. And if we concentrate on nothing, and I'm just making a simplistic statement here, if we concentrate on nothing but bringing in low-income senior housing, where does it fit land use-wise to develop affordable housing for workforce people that are in their 20s and 30s and wish to bring their family to live in Greenville and send their kids to our schools and pay their taxes here in Greenville? I mean, it's a very difficult situation to have to address. We do have housing, we do have low-income housing here. How much more do we need, as opposed to thinking about the future and developing housing for workforce people and upper housing for executive style,
Right.
For people that want to live here, that work in the front office at Whirlpool, for example. And I know that Jeff Serban was just addressing that subject last night regarding a project that he's thinking about. So he recognizes that too. He knows that we need that housing. And that's where I'm coming from. I'm just saying, if we cater only to seniors, we die off as a community, and I don't think anybody wants that. So we're going to have to weigh this, but one of the things that Jeff's talking about, the possibility on this project, is developing housing for seniors, not low-income housing.
Right.
There's a difference. And again, my views from living around the country, I've seen low-income housing, and I see how fast it dwindles quickly.
For both of you on this one then, and we'll start with John, because this one is an issue right now, whether or not it stays on your agenda forever or whether something eventually breaks. But a lot has been said on the proposed senior housing project out on 121. It's also been pointed out that the average age and gender, retired, late 60s, older widowed women. And there's been some question on to whether some grandkids or whatever would live there, and whether, I mean, a lot has been stressed that those kids could be living their grandparents and causing trouble. But we already have an example of one that's similar to this with Fox Run. What issue does the city have with Fox Run? We'll start with John.
Yeah, so and I kind of want to go back on where
Sure.
Jeff left off. So Jeff and I is 100% on the same page on the project that was submitted. The 40, I think it's 42. Is that right?
Yeah.
So and here's, and we're on the same page, but I have a different little perspective on it. So tomorrow, if those 42 units were built, okay, so Fox Run's saying they got a waiting list, right? Mm-hmm. So that waiting list, are they all homeless right now, living on the street? Where are they living? They're living in Greenville. The majority of them, I would say, probably live. Of those 42, I would estimate that they probably 35 of them live in Greenville. And then my other of those on that list, how many are renting now and how many are owning? I would say the majority of them are renting, right?
I would agree with that.
So what we're going to do is we're going to empty out 30 plus rental units in the old section of Greenville and put them out here. And then you're going to have 35 older rental units available, which sounds great. Then we'll move them in. So I have rentals. To find a good renter is next to impossible. Now, to be accepted out here at this nice new shiny 42 unit, there's a background check, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to lose good people out of our old stock of homes to out there, and then it's so hard to find renters. Then those 30-some empty units, you're going to have some people say, hey, you got a pulse? You got first month's rent and deposit? Come on in. And then you have troubles in those areas. So I hear we have a waiting list, but where are they coming from? I think we're both on the same page.
Yeah,
They're coming
I
from
agree.
the older section. So I drove around the other night. I was putting some signs out, and I just started counting the empty lots. And my wife was at a sheriff's sale about 8 years ago, and she was all happy. She was like, I bought a lot on Green Street for $1. And I'm like, you did what? So it was a house that got tore down, and it's got a big tree on it. And someday I thought I'd build, maybe a rental unit on it. Mm-hmm. I'd probably give it away right now because, but we have 42 lots in Greenville. And right in front of that empty lot, there's sewer, water. All the infrastructure is already done. Let's build them there. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
We can't just keep growing our city outward and emptying out our inner city.
Exactly.
We have to pay attention to our older stock. And so someone's going to say, well, who'd want to build a house on Green Street? Well, let's incentivize it. Let's come up with a program where maybe we can work with the county. We can give some type of a tax credit or something to help get those developed. Because look, at the end of the day, if you're building a nice, shiny new house and the houses around you aren't as nice, most likely they're going to fix those houses up too, and it can be contagious. So that was my input. And the other thing I would say, that land on 121, Jeff's, and Jeff and I have talked about this. So that land, the access is from 121. The city owns, I think it's, I don't know the exact amount, but I'm thinking it's 5 or 10 acres on KitchenAid Way, right. That joints, right? Mm-hmm. So why would we not partner up with Jeff and try to attract a company to come in that would have access from both ways? We could build a nice big plant that employs a bunch of people. It's out there next to Whirlpool and some other industry. Let's use that land where we could, as an economic development tool to help bring the jobs in.
I agree.
I just don't think it's the right place. I don't think all we're doing is emptying out the old section. And then the other 10 or 15 might come from surrounding areas. There's no income tax on that. Look, the city runs by, the majority of the city's funds is income tax. That's what pays for fire, police, street department gets some funds from road tax and stuff like that. But the majority is, we want people living in Greenville that's working. We want jobs in Greenville that are paying, they're paying that income tax. I'm not saying get rid of all the old or nothing, but the more people you have working that lives in Greenville, the more industry you have in Greenville. That way we can keep our services that we have and can keep doing more and more things.
Jeff?
Now I'll add to that, the houses that are being vacated, the argument was, okay, so we're going to vacate 42 homes that younger people can move into then, because then these people are going to be renting it at the project that's being proposed in 121. But the fact of the matter is, he said most of these are rentals. They're not houses that are available for sale. And I would say, having been young once, I would say that if I were wanting to move to Greenville, I would much rather move into a workforce affordable house that's been built in a neighborhood of like people that it's intended for, rather than taking an older house downtown and having to rehab it. First of all, I don't think there's a lot of those. He said a lot of them are rentals. So they're not available for sale. They're still going to be rentals if those people leave and take to a new apartment or a unit in the area such as being proposed in 121. So I don't see the argument. I never bought that argument because of everything that John said. They're just taking rentals from here and putting them over here.
With that said, my next question is, doesn't some of that responsibility rest with the landlords? Meaning, if they did more with their rentals, wouldn't that entice the good tenants to stay, or make it desirable for people to come to Greenville to live and work? How do you encourage the landlords to do what is needed with their properties?
Well, I think we have enough ordinances on the books that we just, one of the things I have in my, 4 items is a zoning enforcement. I'd love to see a 10-hour week part-time zoning enforcement where we just drive around and look for the couch or the junk car or broken windows, distressed properties, so we can get that addressed. And I would love for that to be an officer, maybe that rookie officer, or maybe that officer that's close to his retirement, 1 day a week, drive the city. Because right now, if there's a couch in the backyard or a junk vehicle, the neighbor has to call and complain, right? So, and you have some neighbors like, I don't care, it's the 3rd time I've called, they give up, and then it just snowballs. Right. So I think a zoning enforcement officer, and look, we have to treat people with respect. You have to, it's a big apple, right? You gotta eat that apple one bite at a time. And you have to work with people and respect them, because look, there's some people that have difficulties or situations, but we as a city we want to be a good partner with that person. But look, there's some that we probably have to get tough on, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think 90% of the time, if an officer knocks on the door and says, "Hey, you've got a junk vehicle in your backyard with no license plates on it, you've got 7 days to get it taken care of," I would say 90% of that, 7 days later, is going to be gone. The other one is, hey, we're going to have to, we're going to give you another 3 days. If it's not moved, we're going to have to cite you. Something to that. And I'll add something. So Union City has a registry where all rentals have to be inspected. I don't want to go there, but I think we might have to go there on trailer courts, because we have a mess right now at our 2 trailer courts. Owines does an awesome job. The 2 that we have out here, I don't know, Jeff, if you've been through them, but it is bad.
I've seen them.
And we've got to get that addressed. But I think working with the landlords, and if you look at, there's basically about four of them that own a bunch of properties. I've been selling my residential off because it's just hard to find good renters. I think we're down to like 7 or 8 rentals other than the downtown, and the downtown properties. People love to live downtown, so you get that quality renter, that professional. Right. But I think if we work with those 4 landlords and tell them our goal, we have some really good. Scott Sassney has a bunch of rentals, and Scott will buy one and fix it up and put good folks in there. Matt Thompson, I know Matt does a good job. We just need to make sure we're looking at, we are encouraging those landlords to drive by your property at least a minimum once a week to make sure there's no junk car and et cetera. And we need to encourage them to make sure they look good, right? We're currently doing the sidewalk program. I think it's altogether 10 years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I think, there's an old saying, curb appeal, right? So when you have good curbs and sidewalks, that makes your house look better. I think this is a step in the right direction. I know councils, and we talked last night, I think councils are going to start getting heat on this because someone's going to, it's going to cost me $4,000 to have new sidewalks. We've got to stay course on this. We've made a 30% homestead reduction. We've offered a 5% if they pay it. We've offered there's a charge to the county, but it's 5 years interest free. But the county does charge a little bit, and we're getting more details on that. But we got some good things in the works, if that makes sense.
Yep.
A plethora of comments to make.
Plethora.
Keep them short. We're running out of time.
Okay.
Sorry.
This thing about rentals came up several years ago when we had the Citizens for Safer Streets. And one of the things that was being looked at was indeed a rental registry program. And the more I heard, the more it makes sense. We've got a lot of landlords that don't live here, from what I understand. How do you stay on top of them and make sure that they're keeping their rentals up? When I was a kid, I rented a lot. I didn't have the money to own a house right off the bat, but I was of the opinion when I rented from somebody, I took care of it like it was my own property. But I also expected the landlord to keep that house up to meet my standards. Because if they did, I left and moved on somewhere else. And I believe there's got to be a mutual respect there. Right. And I think that you got to have inspections when called for. I don't think you need to have inspections on every house every year, any rental property every year or whenever, how often it would be. But you got to stay on top of these. The people that own properties are responsible for those properties and for making sure that their tenants are being good citizens as far as keeping their properties clean. And I think that we all need to be good neighbors to one another and keep our own properties clean, and that includes everybody. That includes everybody. We've got a nuisance abatement program that Mike Reedman's working, and I think we've found some success with cleaning up a lot of things. There's a few that still need work, and we'll just leave it at that.
All right, Jeff, to you. You said one of your main aims, and this you said this at the Republican Women's thing, as mayor is to provide for the safety and security of families and have a strong and effective police and fire protection, as well as clean, safe, and healthy drinking water, if effective sanitary wastewater. This sounds like something every politician says. How is your aim different from what is already taking place, or is this maintaining the status quo? Do you believe we have an issue with our police, fire, water, and wastewater?
I believe that we've got dedicated police officers that want to do the best job they can, and a lot of them are young, and they want to live in the city of Greenville and protect the people of the city of Greenville. I have always been of the opinion, and I have the support of many police officers in my candidacy, because my support for the police and fire department is very real, and it comes from my heart, because I know that the number one thing, that those things that you mentioned, those are all things that local governments are supposed to provide for their citizens, and they will. Infrastructure, streets and sidewalks, crumbling sidewalks. If you were trying to attract a business into town, they're going to look at this stuff and say, nah, I'm going to move on somewhere else where they keep their sidewalks and their streets up. There's only so much money, and everybody is responsible for, particularly, their sidewalks. I mean, the sidewalks in front of a person's home is their maintenance project and not that of the city. And, you hear the thing, oh, I tripped on a sidewalk, I'm going to sue the city. No, you don't sue the city. You sue that person that owns that sidewalk, that has that sidewalk in front of their house. And that's just a fact. But when I made that comment about the safety of our drinking water, particularly was aimed at the situation we had of people living under the bridges and literally defecating in our water supply. And that's not acceptable. I'm sorry. Homelessness is a problem, and we can talk about that on a different day or different topic here. But living under the bridge and defecating in our water is not acceptable. I'm sorry. It has a dire effect on the health of everybody that's living here.
Right. And I'll give you one of yours that you call one of your aims, economic development priorities. You said it feels like we have stagnant job growth, but with 400 jobs in the county, and not just the city, that are currently unfilled and a very low unemployment rate for both the county and the city, why would a business want to stay, grow, or expand in Greenville?
Yep, so I've said this a long time. I remember going to one of my kids' parent-teacher conference, and I walked in and met I think it was my youngest son, Alex, and I walked in to meet his teacher, and she had this big button on, and it was her picture of her son, and it was Fort Recovery. So I asked her where she lived, Fort Recovery, and I'm thinking, why are we not hiring, Greenville grads to fill these jobs? And you go around, any business, and when they, you meet an engineer or you go to the hospital, you see all of these folks that are not, from Greenville originally. What I want to do is we got to make Greenville a place where our kids want to come back to, right? And we've got to, and Wayne Hospital's doing a great job. My youngest son is going to Ohio State, wants to be a surgeon. They have, of course, he's applied for some scholarships through them. They've been very generous. He was home on spring break, and he spent the week there job shadowing. He was actually in a surgical room, and they're grabbing him because they want him back here. And that's what, as a parent, you want your kids close.
Sure.
One of mine lives in Middletown, and she's marrying a Greenville boy, and I'm trying to coach her back. She has but I don't know if she will. But I just think we got to, when our schools, and it's just not Greenville, it's all of our county schools, we got to recruit our kids back here and keep them here. And in Jeff's case, Whirlpool, all that upper management, there's one of them live here, and the rest of them live in Troy, Tip City area, right? So we got to get them here. And Jeff Serber was at the meeting last night and made a comment, if we build this type of housing, we're more apt to get that Chick-fil-A or maybe a Texas Roadhouse or something, that to that effect. So if we can get those our kids back to our community, I think it's a win-win.
And this isn't part of this or part of a question, but economic development has worked on that to some degree with workforce development through Tamala Marley's position, and hopefully eventually we'll see some of that come to fruition. Jeff, on the homeless issue, and actually I've got one last question for both of you, and it kind of deals with this. You have said the city continues to offer help to homeless, and you shared a story about one of the officers offering assistance. What do you want to see done with the homeless people that don't want or refuse assistance? What do you do with them?
Since living here, I've taken notice of the tremendous amount of generosity and a conscious effort on behalf of so many people living here, willing to give of their time, their talent, and their personal finances, and making sure that those in need are taken care of. And there's an abundance of programs that I'm just finding incredible that there's enough programs around here within the city and throughout our county that make help available to those in need, providing food for those that are hungry, for clothes that need the clothing. There's plenty of that. There's also programs for drug addiction and for counseling and so forth. The problem with homelessness is tied directly, in my estimation, to drug abuse and to those not willing to get help for their drug abuse. The answer to that question, how to deal with that, I don't know what you do. I've dealt with that on a personal level. My stepson in the past has hit bottom, and fortunately, by the grace of God, he came through and he's living a good, productive life these days. Now he's 52 years old. This happened when he was in his 20s. For those that are living under the bridge, I would think that they've hit bottom. I don't know. I can't judge that person. I can judge their unwillingness to seek help for themselves. We all got a personal responsibility that we have to have for ourselves. That's the bottom line. And I will say that again, the homelessness problem in this city has a direct tie to drug abuse, because those are the people that don't want to play by the rules, that want to just keep doing what they want to do and just shoot up, as opposed to getting help, seeking the help of God, seeking the help of clergy that are out there talking about the homeless, but they're not doing anything to encourage those people to seek the help, the real help that's out there.
And John, finally, for you, every candidate comes in and says they want to do something about drugs, crime, homelessness, etc., and you kind of said that. What is your plan, and how is it different from what others have tried and or done?
Okay, so this hits home a little bit because my wife's little brother, we lost him about, I think, 10, 12 years ago. Great kid, very, very good athlete, and it was a roller coaster ride for him. He would do well, and then hit rock bottom, do well. I always said prosperity is what got him. Every time he would do well, he would go back. So how do you fix it? So about 3 months ago, our police department set up a meeting. We had it down at the VFW. Were you there for that? Okay. So we had every organization there. I was amazed. So we had, probation department. We had, both county and local law enforcement. We had community action. We had Catholic social service. We had state, federal. All of these. I think there was probably 45 people. And two things that was my takeaway. One, I was amazed by what help is available for an individual in that situation. We can take that individual and put you in a home today. You have free health care, you have free prescriptions. Someone's, we can walk you through to get you back on the right path. But to put you in that home, you have to stay clean. Mm-hmm. And they would rather live under the bridge, do drugs, than get help. So that was my takeaway. I was blown away by how much help. I think, Jeff, you were probably too.
Same thing.
I didn't realize that of all the different organizations, nonprofit and state, federal, local, that was available. My second takeaway was the lady from probation made a comment that she thought if we made part of their probation, so when someone goes to court and, I'm homeless. Okay, part of your probation is you have to complete ABC, and one of them would be check into this housing and complete the program. And to be able to check in this housing, you have to be clean, right? And then if they don't do that, then they're breaking their probation. Mm-hmm. And then they get hauled back in court and there's consequences, right? I think it needs to be part of their probation, and I think we need to really make sure that we hold them accountable to get them out of there. Look, and Jeff's spot on. We don't have a homeless problem. We have a drug problem. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a DARE program anymore. One of the things I'd like to do, we have 3 resource officers. I would like to partner up with the school and the resource officers and maybe some private, I know the Elks, the local Elks has a drug prevention program that's free. Partner, get some type of some teachers and some outside folks, get them on together, and what's going to work good. Why did we do away with the DARE program? Did it not work? But we have 3 resource officers in our schools. If they could help maybe do drug prevention, drug awareness, something like that. I think that is one thing we could do. 2, we got to work with the judges, the prosecutors, probation department to make sure that when they're on probation, that's part of it. And look, at the end of the day, it's choices and consequences, right? Another thing I say too, it's, I'm a member, I've been on the Boys and Girls Club, and it's heartbreaking to go in there and see some of our kids, right? And they don't have strong families. Someone's got to grab those kids, whether it's at school or what, to make sure they're on the right track. It's, you have some of these folks out there that are drug addicts, living under the bridge or whatever. They have no one to disappoint. And if you think about it, Ryan, if you screw up, right, your wife's going to be mad, all of your friends, your faith in God, right? You're going to disappoint a lot of people. Those folks living under the bridges, they have no one to disappoint because they probably don't have real strong faith in God.
Right.
They probably have parents that has shunned them, and they probably don't have any true friends. So they're making a lot of bad choices because they have no one to disappoint. So we got to get them into that rehab center. We got to make it where they have to go to that rehab center, and if they don't, there's consequences, whether it's jail time or whatever. That's, I think, how you fix it.
One of the things we have going on in Greenville now that is a total blessing is the LifeWise Academy that's just been started this past fall. This is a program which I believe is going to have an incredible positive influence on the future of Greenville's youth.
I 100% agree.
As 8 in 10 American youth don't attend church, that's a fact. LifeWise Academy is a release time religious instruction which exists to reach our youth with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I would dare say that one has a relationship with Jesus Christ more than likely doesn't have a drug problem. Fair to say. I'm going to say this, that this has been upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court for 60 years. It's been passed into law by the Ohio legislature. And under these laws, students can be released during this from public school during the school day to receive religious instruction, Bible instruction, solid biblical truth, provided the program is held off school property. It's privately funded and permitted by the parent. And there's been a lot of people contributing to this effort, including myself. I'm on the board as well. And I do that because I want to show the board the support that I believe the city has for this program, and I'm going to be every bit a part of that. The impact of this program, LifeWise Academy in Van Wert, has nearly 95% of all of their elementary school kids from kindergarten through 5th grade participates in LifeWise Academy each week. That's a goal of ours. These are all 4th graders now. They started with, I believe, 28 students. They're now up to 59. And next year, we're going to look to incorporate 3rd grade students as well. This is a program that's successful, and it works, and it has an effect on the future of our children.
Right.
Yeah, it's an awesome program, and hats off to Van Wert schools, what they've done up there.
And it's going on not just in Greenville, but also I think Arcana, Franklin Monroe, both of those are doing it as well.
And it goes back to that, these folks making bad choices have no one to disappoint. We've got to grab those kids.
Yeah. We got to be able to get them someplace where they can disappoint somebody.
Yeah.
Well, there's something to be said for that.
So, thank you both for being here. I know we still have a little bit of time for you guys to get your message out. I didn't get to all my questions.
We talked a lot.
We talked a lot. You guys did well. But you guys are accessible. People have individual questions. They can more than reach out to you and ask those questions there. Again, registration, if you're not already registered to vote, April 3rd is the deadline. Absentee voting begins April 4th. And the primary actual date is May 2nd.
May 2nd.
So still a lot of time for you to vote. Get ready to vote, and one of these gentlemen will probably be leading us. I think you said it one time that Greenville has 1,000 things going right, and there's just those few small things that we need to work on. And so you've heard from both of them. Now it's up to you. You decide who's going to be the next mayor of Greenville. Thanks for watching Daily Advocate Early Bird In Depth.
Thank you.
Thank you.